Good evening, guys. I'm back. Just doing an open. Let me see. I'm gonna post the open link in the chat. Here you go. If anybody wants to jump on and just chat, trying to come up with ideas for this coming week. And I'm gonna do '90s week this coming week, so it should be fun. Let's see what kind of movies and stuff you guys want to discuss. Friday, I'm starting the Sith series, so we're gonna reshoot today's stream from earlier tomorrow, and we're gonna do a better time. And my co-host State's gonna me and him are gonna do that together, so I think it'll be a little bit better. Nate was telling me there was a lot of dead air in that one from earlier, and I apologize about that. Uh, and there's some context to things that I should have said starting that stream out. So we'll reshoot. We'll do better tomorrow, and yeah, give you guys top content. I don't want to put something out that looks clunky and everything. I want it to look good, crisp, and fresh. So yeah, let me jump on Discord and send some people a link to a stream so they know what's going on. So it feels like I'm talking to myself.
What's up?
Not much. Just trying to. Thought I would do a live and see if anybody's got any ideas, stuff they want to see, or anything like that.
Well, there you go. It's always good to get ideas from your community that listens to you, but also remember that ultimately you're the content creator.
Yeah.
And you need to, and I'm not saying this to, this is something I've come across in just the time I've been doing this. And it's something I learned from Brodan. It's good to get advice from your community, but it's also good to control the situation that you've got going on.
Yeah.
And we had to several times over on our channel, just get rid of a bunch of people. Because the community, I mean, it doesn't matter what you're talking about. The fandom community can be very toxic.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get in there and if you let them control the narrative, you're going to lose the plot real easy.
Yeah, I've noticed that. There's been a couple of people that I've had to, unfortunately, let go from some of the stuff.
Well, it's like we had this guy that used to come to our streams all the time over with mine and Brodan's thing. With me, Brodan, and Chris, and Raquel. And his name was Chris Barker. And he just had this real bad habit of coming on and he would derail whatever we were talking about. And one night the talk got political. People want to talk about certain things that are going on in the world. And, we allowed some political conversations over there with us, but we also, tried to limit what we talked about. Not so much because we cared about what YouTube had to say about it, but because certain things can get really heated. And if you're trying to run a channel and you're trying to put out content, it gets hard to do things when all your crowd wants to talk about is current events that maybe we shouldn't be talking about, And this guy came in one night and just started bashing about the vaccine and everything else. And he ended up frustrating the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Normally,
we've had a couple talks on here, and I had to delete the stream because it was just like sometimes it go too far.
Yeah, normally I'm as you probably noticed, I'm a pretty even-tempered human. And but when you frustrate me, something's gone off the rails. And the things that frustrate me the most is when you sit there and you warn the people in the chat, hey, we're not going to talk about that. This is my final say on it. And they keep on. They keep on and they keep on and they keep on. And I don't often feed trolls. And that guy just kept trolling and kept trolling and kept trolling that night, and I blew up on the stream.
Yeah.
And okay, let me put it to you this way: I blew up so much that even Brodan was concerned. And you know how angry Brodan gets on streams.
Oh yeah, it's all the time.
But with me, it's like you really have to push me to piss me off. There's a few things that I don't like to talk about, and there's a few things that I put my foot down on. And if I've told you once, hey, stop it, I give you a warning. I'm not mean about it. I'm like, hey, we don't need to discuss that. Can we go on something else? Will you let us keep on with our topic? Don't derail us, blah, blah, blah. But if I've warned you once or twice and you're still being a troll, dude, that frustrates the hell out of me, and I will bully whoop you. And that guy just was not having it that night, man. He would not let us get on with our topics. He would not, just everything. And he kept bringing it back to the damn vaccine and how I was wrong and all this other stuff. You got to understand, I don't normally say something on the internet, especially YouTube, unless I've either researched the topic or have a very strong opinion about it.
Yeah.
So, I've done.
Yeah, we had a guest one time on the panel, and I'm a veteran, so I let certain political topics slide. But then this one guest just started talking about how young women use rape as a weapon. And I was just like, oh, I can't. And I had to end it.
Well, yeah, and I don't want to go too far into it on your channel.
No, like that was one of the things. I'm like, I can't do anything with that. You got to end it. So
yeah,
that's when that went too far. So
yeah, well, the thing that was getting me was I have personally made the decision not to get the vaccine for my own personal reasons.
Yeah,
and this guy was just like lambasting me on it. And I have medical reasons for not doing it. I've studied what the vaccines are. I know for a fact that they weren't tested long enough to be safe, in my opinion, from what you normally know about vaccines.
Oh, dear.
And I made the choice for myself to not get it.
Well,
now that does.
My mom had me take it.
Yeah,
well,
my wife got it. My wife she got both doses of vaccine for work. So that was.
And I gave
it was cool. And she's fine now. But yeah, I completely understand. It's a freaking personal choice. So.
But see, it doesn't make me. But the guy was calling me an anti-vaxxer and everything else.
Oh God, yeah.
And I am not an anti-vaxxer. If the vaccine is proven and it's been tested thoroughly, and it can take up to 10 to 15 years to test any vaccine.
Yeah.
And be able to trust it. And this thing came out in a year.
So,
and there are people having negative side effects to it.
I didn't get any side effects.
Well, I'm not saying everybody. I'm just saying there have been people that have.
No, because everybody reacts differently. No one.
Right. The only way to truly tailor a vaccine to where there's no harmful side effects is there's no way you can do it, because you would have to test it on every single human in the population.
Yeah,
because you never know.
The flu shot, I react differently than my wife or my mother would. So
right. But see, the point I was making to the guy is just because I didn't want to get the COVID shot doesn't mean that I'm not an anti-vax. That I'm an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah.
I just made a medical decision for myself because I have a condition called lupus, which is an autoimmune disorder.
Yeah, I've heard of lupus.
And it could, even though it's supposed to be inert vaccine, whatever, I didn't feel it was tested enough to be safe for me. So I made the decision for myself. I wasn't suggesting anybody else make the decision I made. If you want to get the vaccine, it's your body. You should have body autonomy. You should be able to make that decision for yourself. Okay?
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm about. I'm about body autonomy. I'm about, those are decisions that you need to make for yourself, and you shouldn't be threatened or forced by anybody else to do that, because only you really know what's good for you.
Yeah.
Well, this guy was just calling me all sorts of things, and it led from, well, you're an anti-vaxxer, so that must mean you're a right-wing, ultra conservative and a Trump supporter and all this other stuff. And let me make my politics very straight for you guys. I am a centrist, which means I see some point to the left and I see some point to the right. I am neither far left nor far right. I am in the middle. I research the topics that are in politics, and I decide, again, for myself, what works for me. I was not a Trump supporter. Not because I didn't think he would be an okay president, but because I don't like him personally as a human being. I think he's atrocious.
Yes. It's
Now,
like everybody come out with this stuff, and I'm like, dude, have you seen The Apprentice?
Yeah, I mean,
It's
well, and
pretty
that's
cut
the
and
thing,
dry.
like, I don't, but me saying that, I'm not trying to influence anybody else.
Yeah.
If you love the guy and think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, well, by all means, vote for him.
Yeah.
But I did not trust either candidate this last election. And
Yeah, same here. It's like in 08, I didn't vote either. Like, where you vote? Because I didn't think either one was fit.
Well, this year I voted for the independent candidate. There was a female candidate that was an independent, and I voted for her.
Oh, cool.
And she just did not have enough support, enough backing to make it very far.
Yeah, I'm an independent as well, but some of my views would be considered right leaning. So I guess I'm an independent who's right leaning.
Well, I come from a veteran family. There's a lot of us that were military.
Yeah.
And I come from my father had very conservative views, but he was also a centrist, because there were some things that the conservative views, he was just like, okay, that's bullshit,
Yeah.
But, I find as I get older, and I'm nearly 50 now, that my views become more and more conservative with every year. So I lean a little right.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm in there with the kook jobs doing the stupid shit.
Yeah.
And it's really funny. Okay, do you have Facebook?
Yes, I do, just to talk to my mom and wife because I don't have actual minutes on my phone. So I use Messenger to call. But that's about all I use it for.
Well, the how Messenger how YouTube will sometimes throw you like, these are things you posted 4 or 5 years ago, and they call it your memories or whatever.
Yeah. The timeline. I know what you're talking about.
Well, I got one of those memories notifications, and I was going through some of my stuff, and some of my stuff was like 7, 8, 9 years old. And I was looking at my political views from 9 years ago. And I was like, wow, I was a whack job. But, it's just opinions change over time. And that's what the greatest thing about being human is that you can build those opinions, and you don't have to allow anybody to affect your decisions, your opinions. You can build your own character. You can build your own thought processes. And though you may base it somewhat on other people, your own mind is your own. You know what I'm saying? And
hey, geeks, Hassan is not a freaking bot, dude. It was probably just a typo. Come on. Dang it, man. He's a regular. He was on my video game stream earlier. We were having a conversation. He's not a bot, man. Should have asked.
Oh, no.
Dude, awesome. Sorry, Hanson.
Like we see, over with over on our channel, Brodan, and the new crew channel. which we're on hiatus at the moment. We're restructuring and trying to figure out how we're going to move forward with what we were doing, to try to bring it more.
I wonder why I haven't seen anything. I try to make every one of you guys streams because I like the content and we always have good conversations. So.
Well, Brodan's trying to decide how we're going to continue in the future, and he recently put out something saying he's going to be solo for a little bit, and I understand his reasons. I know some stuff.
And then when you guys were talking about all the Star Wars lore, that's when I really got hooked.
Yeah, and I understand a lot of things. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes with everybody, and he's got some behind the scenes things going on, and he's trying to grow as a person, but we're also trying to grow as a channel. So we're taking some time off. We're making connections to the community. That's why I've been talking to a lot of YouTubers lately. That's why I'm on the Poindexter Lounge now with Enosh, but I'm also on some other YouTubers. I saw you
on there last night.
Yeah. I've been there just about every night for the last 2 weeks. Enosh is a really good guy. I appreciate him having me on and making sure that I'm there, and getting the information whenever he sets up a stream or whatever. But I've also got some other projects I've got a lot of irons in the fire at the moment when it comes to YouTube.
Yeah. I was over there all the time, but like people started dunking on me because of my opinion. So it was just like, and it's not like I was trolling anybody. It was like one of them was like, because they were talking about Multiverse of Madness and Sam Raimi coming back.
Yeah.
I said he's not bad, but I don't think he's like on a Snyder Burton level when it comes to doing superhero movies.
I beg
they're like, oh, wrong. He's the man in horror, but I don't follow horror, so I don't know how big of a deal he is. Yeah.
Yes, Andrew?
Did you forget that he created one of the greatest comic book movies ever, Spider-Man 2?
I knew he was going to go there.
Okay.
Spider-Man was great, and especially that era. Like, I like all the Marvel movies. You're talking about the early 2000s? Like, that early 2000s era, I thought every single one was a banger. And sometimes it's hard to say which one was best. It's your personal preference on what you like the most. I remember as a kid, I was always like, will we ever get Spider-Man in live action? And then we did, and it was great. And so that impact and everything surrounding it at that time, I just thought was absolutely amazing. And then we got Daredevil finally in live action, and I liked it. A lot of people are like, oh, it's trash. No, it's not trash at the time.
Well, okay, the biggest problem with fandoms, and this is why I try to be very open with my opinions when it comes to fandoms that we're into and everything, is you remember, I don't know what time period you grew up in, and I don't know what years your youth was in, but I grew up in
born in 87, so it was like 90s, early 2000s.
Early 2000s, okay.
Yeah.
Well, my influence was, the 80s and the 90s. That's where I graduated high school in 94.
Okay, I graduated 10 years after you did, so.
Yeah. So, there's a generational divide there. But what I'm trying to say is when I was growing up in the 80s and the 90s, if you were into geek culture, we had to band together because being a geek back then wasn't cool, So there was a whole lot more unity amongst nerd culture and fandoms and stuff like that because everybody else thought you were the weirdos,
Yeah. Exactly.
But nowadays, ever since nerd went mainstream, everybody's been tribal.
Yep.
And that's not good for fandoms because, when we were all united in the past, just trying not to get beat up by the jocks and everything,
Yeah, and now the jocks and everybody are into the same stuff we were, so there's not that thing that brings us together anymore.
Right. So, and also social media is a real big problem when it comes to fandoms. And well, it's both a problem, it's both a hindrance and a blessing. Okay. For one, more of us can get together and talk all over the world. And I have met so many people worldwide over YouTube, especially. I have friends in Australia now. I have friends in the UK. I have friends in China. I have friends, I have so many people I've talked to from different countries that it's cool. But in that, also, the problem with social media when it comes to fandoms is it allows a lot of people that have petty ideas to band together and attack. And as fandoms, we should never be attacking each other.
Yeah.
We should learn to agree to disagree. Okay. If you don't like something I like, that's fine, man. We can find another common ground to talk about. Because I guarantee you, somewhere in the fandoms that I like, we'll find a common ground. Okay.
Yeah. And I can understand that. And for me, it really did, like with the Star Wars stuff. Star Wars is, other than DC's, probably the most toxic freaking stuff. And freaking, when it really got bad was episode 2. They really didn't start hating on episode 1 until episode 2 came out.
Yeah.
And then they started trashing on the prequels.
Well, the prequel era was very interesting era to live through. Okay. Because the only Star Wars I had growing up was the original trilogy and then the books, the novels, the extended universe. And so to me, that was canon. You are correct, Amen Fade. It was the very same for me too. I'm nearly 50 years old.
Same here. It was like, I remember, I know Andrew's a big fan of the original Spider-Man, which is great. I like it too. But like when I was in high school, I remember I was in 9th grade and they were playing Spider-Man. This is in 03, so they're playing the first Spider-Man 02. And I thought it was cool. A couple of my friends did, but all the jocks and the popular people was like, "Oh, this movie's crap. Toby sucks." I'm like, "You're a jock. What the hell do you know?" And so we would band together.
It must be the Flash Thompsons of your school.
Well, see,
it was just like, who cares? Because they were jerks. Because me and all my friends, and we all loved Spider-Man, and we thought, it was great. So
the cool thing about me is I was a chameleon in school. I was a jock, but I was also a secret nerd. So, like, visibly in school, I was, student council. I was on the football team. I was a power lifter. But I was also in drama club. I was also reading comic books. So, like, my jock friends would come to my house, my parents' house, and they would see stacks of comic books in my house, in my bedroom. And I actually got a bunch of my jock friends into reading comic books, strangely enough.
Really?
But the cool thing about being me was I worked for a comic book store in my teenage years, and then I continued to work there for another probably 6 or 7 years into my 20s too.
Oh, nice.
And it was fun. It was entertaining. I got to go to Comic Cons all the time and the owners of my comic book store would send me, so I didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah, I kind of volunteered because it was in a small rinky-dink town in Tennessee, and I was buddies with the owner, and the owner couldn't afford to pay me, so he couldn't hire me technically, but I tried to help out wherever. And
until I turned,
because I actually was able to get Spawn #1.
That was a good book, man. That was a good book. The interesting thing about how I started out working for this comic book store.
Dude, that sucks, geeks.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate, geeks. And I'll circle back around to that, but I want to tell this story really quick. I was 14 years old, and I lived in a town called Watauga here in Texas. And there was this little curio shop, they sold like all sorts of stuff. They didn't just sell comic books. They sold like baseball cards and and comic book cards, and they sold they sold little trinkets here and there. They sold some toys. They resold some older toys. And I'd found the little place because I used to walk down. We had a little Fina convenience store that was down the road from us, and they had a little grill in there. So my mom, who didn't work at the time, would send us down there to buy lunch because the work my mother did was she watched kids, as she didn't always have a whole lot of time minding kids like she was to spend time in the kitchen. So she would send me down to the little grill to get lunch for everybody and all that. Well, I found the little comic book store on the way to the store one day because it was tucked off it was like behind the convenience store in a little shopping center thing. And I'd found the comic book store, and I started, because up until that point, I was getting my comic books from convenience stores. But I found the little shop, and it was an interesting place. And I went in there. It was when we moved back from the UK. So I was probably 12, 13 years old, I guess. Well, the ladies that ran the place, the little curio shop, didn't know their ass from their hindquarters. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. And they found out that I knew a lot about comic books because I went in and I rearranged their comic book shelves for them. And they started telling me, they thought I was pretty intelligent kid when it came to comics, and they wanted to know if I could teach them anything because they were losing their ass on buying comic books because they didn't know what to buy. They didn't know what people wanted. They didn't know what people were reading. They just kind of knew what was somewhat popular back in the 80s, like they knew about Superman and they knew about Batman, but they didn't know about they knew about Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man, but they didn't know about the Punisher or the X-Men comics necessarily. I mean, they had one or two. But
I think the X-Men was known for the animated series in the 90s.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about the 80s. The X-Men, the X-Men were around, but they weren't. The X-Men really didn't become a big name until the 90s with that animated series and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, but I mean, unless
the first animated series was awful. It was the second one that they did that everybody remembers. Yeah,
the original, the first ever X-Men animation was an episode, was a extra long, it was an hour and a half long episode called Pride of the X-Men. And it was about Kitty Pryde joining the X-Men. And that was actually supposed to be a pilot for a cartoon, but it never got anywhere really. They made a few more episodes after that, but it failed. And it was because people just thought it was weird, And the X-Men wasn't like anything else really out there. And these ladies, they would basically, the way that they ordered their comic books was they would have the Diamond Distributor's Guide or whatever, and they would just go through and they'd be like, everybody knows who Superman is. Everybody knows who Batman is. They just kind of made assumptions. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And this one day I'm sitting down there hanging out with them, and the younger of the two ladies was like, well, you seem to be pretty knowledgeable, youngster. Maybe I should just, and I thought she may have been joking at first. I don't know. But she was she had her little order book out told what comic books were coming out in a week and all that. And she goes, maybe I should just hand you the order guide and let you make my orders. And I was like, I'll do it. Because I knew what my friends were reading, And she just kind of looked at me. She stopped and she just kind of looked at me. And she goes, you really think you can help me make money, kid? And I said, I can try. I can tell you what's popular. I can tell you what people are reading. I mean, if you make money, then that's on you,
Yeah.
And
Amy wants to come on.
And she, I was 14 years old when that conversation happened, and she was like, well, here you go. And she handed me the guide, the order guide. And I made her orders for that week, and she got them, and she saw a 5 or 6% increase in sales. And then she handed me the order guide for the next week, and she handed me the order for the week after that. And each week she would rise in sales. So when I was about 15, almost 16 years old, she hired me officially. And she couldn't, for whatever reason, she paid me half in money and half in merchandise, pretty much. So I would make my order. I would make the order for the shop, but I would also get stuff in I wanted. And I got my comic books basically for the little bit of work I did for her. And that was, organizing the store for her, making orders, bringing butts in the store. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I did for her. And then when I got old enough to where my parents let me travel on my own, round about the same time I actually got married as a teenager. They started sending me to the Comic Cons, and I met a lot of people in the comic book industry.
Nice.
And the late 80s, early 90s was like, those were the heydays of the comic book industry.
Oh yeah.
Then you get into the late 90s, and you got the comic book bust and everything else, and that's when comic books went downhill. That's when Marvel made the bad decision to sell a lot of their properties to Sony, a lot of their properties to Fox.
That's how it started. Okay.
They were trying to recover from the bad decisions made in the early 90s. And what caused the comic book bust a lot was, you would have, X-Men #1 that came out in 1991, which was the second series of X-Men, because you had Uncanny X-Men, then you had X-Men. Well, when X-Men #1 came out in 91 or 92, can't remember off the top of my head, there were 15 different covers for the #1 issue. And everybody wanted to get each variant cover. Well, what that did was that overflooded the market, that oversaturated the market with stuff. And people would go in and buy up every issue of a certain variant, and then they would hold on to them and hoard them, which drove the prices up. And I hate to say it, but collectors killed the comic book market in the 90s. But, I went through that, and that's pretty much when I stopped working for comic book stores, was, when the comic book bust happened. But to get back to my original point I was making is, back in the day when I was having to be a low-key nerd, I had friends that liked things that I didn't like, and they had things they liked but we found common ground. And I think we've forgotten that nowadays with social media and everything else, and this tribalism that's going on with fandom. We've forgotten to try that as nerds, we need to find a common ground.
Yep.
As people in geek culture, we need to find a common ground. Just because it's mainstream doesn't mean we don't still have a reason to be unified. And that's what I've been trying. That's what I've been saying like this whole time. Like I was on an X-Men stream yesterday, an X-Men panel yesterday, and it just went so badly. Because
I think that's why the word trash triggers me so much. Because most people who say the word trash have no respect for other people's loves or try to find that common ground.
Enosh often says when he ends his streams at Poindexter Lounge, he says, don't ever let anybody else tell you your fandom isn't worthy, and don't tell them that their fandom isn't worthy.
Yeah.
That's not the exact words, but it's the gist of what he says.
No, that's almost exactly what he says.
Yeah, that's
but
what.
Then there are people who come on his stream and just start dunking on stuff, and then.
Well, and the word that triggers me the most. The word that triggers me the most is the word simp.
So.
And because I love the MCU, and because I have defended some of those movies, not all of them. Not all of them have been good. Okay,
He's Dark Star.
don't get it twisted. Some of those movies are fucking horrible. But because in general, I defend the MCU.
Yeah.
But because in general, I defend the MCU, I get called a Disney simp a lot.
A lot of people say, like, if you defend, I think, Marvel and stuff like that, that you're, I think, an MCU shill or something like that.
Yeah, well, I get called a Disney simp because I also like Star Wars.
Huh. I like Star Wars. Nothing wrong with that.
But the thing is, you know, I could give a fuck about the company that produces the stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Do I like some of the stuff that Disney does with Star Wars, especially? Hell no. I think it's atrocious. But do I blame? I don't allow the fact that Disney made it affect how I feel about the product. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's with me. Like no matter Marvel, DC, or Star Wars, etc. Like at the end of the day, like why like I just want a good product, like just a good movie or TV show. Like I just like I don't understand why people let I think companies get into their head and like I can't watch this because these people are in charge, etc. Like if you love something, don't let them overpower you to not love it. You should watch it and love what you love.
Well, for example, I dislike Mark Ruffalo severely. I think his politics are atrocious. I think he opens his mouth when he shouldn't. And look, I don't watch your stuff and I don't give your movies you're in money because I agree with your politics.
Oh, Mark Ruffalo.
I could give it.
The new
let me finish, Arkham. I could give a fuck about your politics, son. Entertain me. That's what you're there for. Okay.
Scarlett Johansson said something like that one time. It was like after the Gina Carano thing.
Yeah.
And she's like, shut up. Nobody wants to hear your politics. Do your job and something you're actually good at, which is acting.
Exactly.
And I had a newfound respect for Scarlett Johansson after she said that.
I say it kind of rudely sometimes. The thing I always say is, hey, monkey, you're there to entertain me. Jump and dance and be entertaining.
I've heard that
I don't give a fuck about who you believe in as a candidate for politics.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about your personal beliefs. Do your fucking job. That's what I pay you for. Don't sit here and preach to me about what you believe in. Okay?
Yeah. Hey,
don't.
I read your message, and don't worry. I only have two simps. One is Nate, and the other is a guy by the nickname of Goonies. So you ain't gotta worry about it. No, I'm kidding.
You know,
when I say the word simp, I'm joking around. I'm never serious about it.
You know, when it comes to this YouTube thing, the first thing that ever struck me as just being totally insane to me is I don't produce anything on my own channel at the moment. I'm working on my content, but I haven't gotten there quite yet. I haven't started putting out my own content. So, but I'm on a lot of I'm sure you guys see me everywhere.
Most of everywhere.
And it's like, I'll be on a stream and people whose names I don't even recognize be like, oh, hey, Fade's here, you know? And I'm like, what? Huh? I've got groupies. And it's just amazing.
Groupies. I haven't heard that in a while.
I come on and I talk, about nerd stuff. I come on and talk about horror stuff. I come on and talk about just all kinds of, things that interest me. And I've got people who I don't even recognize their names that be like, oh, hey, Thade's here. That's cool. Oh, hey, Thade, how you doing, man? And I'm just like, wow, people know who I am. That's cool. Wasn't expecting that, but that's cool.
Yeah, I joined Arkham's Discord and freaking, well, no, it was Bell Reeve's Discord, but they were on there, and then I got involved in the other Discords. And freaking, I was just talking with them, and then I see a chat, and they're like, "Hey, it's the good Josh, not the ungodly one." And I'm just like, "Wow, people actually like me in here. That's awesome."
And then and
The cool
what
Josh.
really impressed me is, me and Brodan, the channel we do, we're not like huge YouTubers. We have our subs and we have people that like us, but like we're nowhere near, and I hate using them, but it's an example of people that have thousands of subs. We're not on the geeks and gamers level. You know what I'm saying? What really impressed me the first time a YouTuber that has more subs than me invited me onto their show. I didn't have to ask them if I could be on a panel. They invited me. They came to me myself and invited me onto the show.
Yeah,
And
like
that
that happened to me recently because I'm part of a wrestling fandom too. And there's this guy named Joe Cronin, and he has, let me see real quick how many subs, but he's got quite a few subs. And him and some of his guys wanted me to be on the show because they know I've been a wrestling fan since 1990. So they wanted my insight, and that was actually really fun. I've done that show about 3 times, and it's great. I always have a blast over there.
well,
No,
it's like
the big thing, the big falling out that Max and I had. You guys were coming in as I was leaving, basically.
yeah,
And freaking Max said something to me in a conference call that really hurt, and he said, "I don't have you on a lot of panels." And I was a producer, behind the scenes producer of his channel at that time. I was pretty up there. It was like me and Rayo were the top producers, and then you had some of the other guys. But like, and he said that I didn't have much to contribute to panels, and
ouch.
especially me being the big Star Wars fan. I was like, "Well, we haven't talked. You haven't got to know me." I'm like, "You think I just know the stuff now?" But I got a lot of EU information, especially the old Republic stuff. I don't know everything, but I got enough. And because I'm not into like the scooper talk and stuff like that, I think that's what he
Right.
meant.
Yeah,
We're
I
good
don't like
now. We've
stupid
patched up a
stuff.
lot of stuff, but it's been a whole rebuilding phase. Because I don't do the scooper stuff. I do stuff that's already come out. I don't do rumors and speculation. That's just not my wheelhouse, and I don't care for that content. But
Yeah.
it's I'm not trying to dog people out who do like that content. Uh,
Well, and what's really fascinating is Brodan didn't do that kind of content until I came along too.
yeah,
But I have people that I talk to that know things, and I don't give away my sources. I will never tell you who they are.
hmm
Just know that a lot of the things that I've talked about, I've been right about.
yeah,
And it. I don't give away my sources because I hate YouTubers that do that. Like I love listening to a YouTuber named called Everything Always, but he always calls out his sources. He always calls out their names, and it's like don't call out your sources because you never know with something they've told you that you scoop on, going to get them in trouble.
yeah.
So I never call out my sources, but just know that I know some people, and I've been right about 75% of the time. I was really right. If you ever listen to the content that me and Brodan were doing on Spider-Man No Way Home, I was almost 90% accurate on stuff I said about that in a stream about a month before that movie came out.
Yeah, like,
And
and I was on his panel last night, and we were getting in a debate. I was like, dude, because they're talking about movie talk. And then Brian brought up the fact that a lot of the community spoiled it, and that movie talks really mess people up when it comes to watch movies. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, I'm Spider-Man fatigued now because it freaking ruined my love for it. Because it was everything all the time. And Max had me on and apologized. I'm like, it's not just you. I'm like, it's all the channels. It's the Campias, it's freaking the RJs, the Jarbos, all those. Freaking, they were spoiling that shit for months. I'm like, Max was the least, but it did kill my love for it. And it's much, dude. I grew up. Spider-Man and X-Men and Batman were my first 3 superheroes ever, and I love the animated series. I love the original movies, like everything. I like the Fox X-Men. I like the original, the Sam Raimi trilogy. I thought it was amazing. All right, I love the first 2, the Burton freaking movies. Like that was my bread and butter as a kid. And freaking now, because of the Scooper talk and the movie talk, it's just killed it for me personally.
Well, see, I've never been one to worry about spoilers, okay? Because I grew up in the era where, you know, if your buddy went and saw the movie before you did, you were going to hear about it regardless.
Yeah.
You know, and you didn't really interrupt your friend, even though you hadn't seen it yet, because they were so goddamn excited about it. You just let them talk.
Yeah.
You know? And besides that, no matter how much something is spoiled for you, or at least for me, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but at least for me, no matter how much something is spoiled for me, I still want to see it visually for myself.
Yeah.
I'm right here, Josh.
What's up?
Someone was asking where I was.
Oh, the other Josh, yeah. Freaking, yeah, like, I was a lot like that because I always looked at it as hearing about it and actually seeing it for yourselves, 2 different things.
Well, and that's based on our own personal perception of things.
And like so no it was kind of funny. The funniest thing I thought, all right, for months, I think it was ever since like football season started, it was beginning of fall, everybody's talking about Spider-Man, No Way Home, No Way Home. Who's going to be there? Who's going to show up? Well, Toby said he's not going to be there. Oh, he's just keeping it secret. Well, Garfield says he's not going to be there. Oh, he's just keeping it secret. And so you have all that. And then the suit photos and the leaks and everything come out. And then as soon as that movie comes out, ain't nobody saying shit. I'm like, dude, you've been spoiling this shit for like 4 months. And now that it's out, now you don't want to say anything. And I just thought it was so freaking hypocritical. So, yeah.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. I knew that Andrew was full of shit. I knew that Toby was full of shit. Well, Toby really didn't say he wasn't anything. He wouldn't answer the question.
Yeah, see, so he's probably the smartest one. Because I actually believe Toby, unlike everybody else. And I never believed
time out.
Because that dude freaking runs his mouth way too much. But when I heard Toby was in it, I was like, dang, he's so good.
Hold on, Josh. I think Andrew's trying to say something. Go ahead, Andrew.
I agree with Andrew. I've seen Andrew say stuff, but Toby never said a word. He never did an interview. What are you guys talking about? Toby never said a word.
What? He's talking about Andrew.
Listen, you didn't let me finish, dude. You didn't let me finish.
Okay.
Don't jump to conclusions, bro. I know you love Toby. Give me a second, okay? Chill out. I'm not attacking your boy, okay?
I'm chill.
Chill out. What I'm saying is, they would ask Tobey Maguire, "Are you going to be in this movie?" And he would just kind of smile, or he would, deflect the question. Okay. Andrew actually lied straight up and said, "Oh, I'm not in that movie," several times. Even when we had the set photos, he was still saying, up until the very end, he was still saying, "I'm not in that movie." Okay. And now he's coming back. He's gone back and retracted a lot of his statements since the movie came out and everything.
Trying to use that Jedi mind
trick. So now, well, his joke is, "I am the werewolf," because in an interview beforehand, he was like, "Well, I'm not the werewolf. I'm not there. Blah 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 blah." But now it's like, "I am the werewolf," and I have to admit, he didn't even tell God, the chick that played Gwen Stacy in his movies,
Emma Stone.
Emma Stone. He didn't even tell. Emma asked him straight up, "Are you going to be in this Spider-Man movie?" He didn't even tell her
because he was under NDA.
Speaking of Spider-Man,
NDA is not necessarily a thing when it comes to actors, man. Anyway, let me go ahead, Josh.
I think that was
that's all I got.
Okay. So, and when she finally saw No Way Home, she was like, "Oh, you jerk! You could have told me," basically. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I have this. See, even when I do Scooper talk, I'll always say something like, but for God's sake, go and see it for yourself. You know what I'm saying? But I also tend to talk about stuff that I want to see happen. I don't. But, and I'm upfront with it. It's all just speculation until it actually hits the screen. So do with that information what you will.
Yeah, like for
And
me, it's just annoying. So that's why I don't do Scooper talk.
Yeah. Like to me, when I hear rumors and speculation, I just can't, because for me, sometimes that ruins me for movies. That's why I don't pay attention to the Batman stuff. I'm a huge Batman fan, and I don't even when I see the movie. Like sometimes it takes the enjoyment out of it, knowing so much information out. So I try to avoid as much as I possible. Like I might not even be on Twitter this whole week, so I don't even want anything.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of the time, I don't try to be. I'm not really trying to be a movie scooper or whatever. I'm just basically out there making speculation, and I like talking about what ifs. Okay, I like talking about, well, what would it be like if this person or this person showed up in this movie? It's like with Multiverse of Madness. There is so much that movie could do.
Yep.
Because now
And so much.
Ryan Reynolds is doing the same thing Andrew Garfield did.
What?
Ryan Reynolds is doing the same thing you guys just said Andrew did.
Yeah, but his face is a dead giveaway. It's like when they asked him if he was gonna be in Multiverse of Madness, he gives the craziest look, like he's full of shit.
Yeah, right.
Well, and he's doing that on purpose. If you'll ever notice, Ryan Reynolds, whenever they ask him about something, like, are you going to do this movie? Or are you going to do that movie? Or is this true about this movie or that movie? Pay attention to his facial features. Pay attention to the way his expressions. Pay attention. Because normally if he's trying to tell you something without telling you something, he gets that crazy look in his face. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's his signal of, yeah, you're right, but I can't tell you you're right. You know what I'm saying?
Because Disney.
It's not really a lie so much as, it's one thing will come out of his mouth, but if you're paying attention to his expressions and his face and everything, he's such an expressive actor that he could tell you stuff without actually saying the words.
Yeah, they can nod and stuff like that and like do this, but they can't really tell you because of Disney and stuff like that.
And he did a lot of that with the Deadpool movies.
Yeah.
Like he would be like, there was one interview, he said something and they asked him a question and he said no, but he was shaking his head yes. Like he has little tells. You can tell with him. Toby is hard to read. And I honestly believed Toby when he said he wasn't going to be in the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, wow.
He was just so convincing. And that's hats off to freaking Tobey Maguire for being such a good bluffer and being able to sell that shit, dude. Like,
yeah,
I actually believed Toby when he said, "Nope, I'm not part of it." Like the way
I never heard him say that.
I was just so convinced, and that's good. You want actors to be able to sell that shit, and then when they actually do show up, you'll be like, "Oh my god!" Shock factor is amazing, especially. Well,
but that being said, though, even though I knew Andrew Garfield was lying, seeing him on screen in that movie was still like, oh yeah, that's great. I was still excited. That moment when he comes to the portal and he pulls the mask off, and that was just amazing, dude. Even though I knew it was going to happen. I knew Charlie Cox was convincing for a little bit. But he has the face. He makes the faces too. If you pay attention to him. Also, when the trailers came out for No Way Home, I caught somebody body shape wise that I thought was Charlie Cox. It didn't end up being Charlie Cox, but it pretty much put me on the scent that he was going to be in that movie.
Yeah, it's that. And I was getting a little fed up with the freaking, like, the fandom talk. in these streams, and then after I saw Book of Boba, I was just like, I'm done. That's when I stopped showing up on Enosh's. That's when I barely ever go on Max's unless it's like a special thing. It's like after that I was done. I haven't been on Jarbo's in like 2 weeks. Like, yeah. After that, and seeing like especially the episode 3 critique, and saying they're Power Rangers just because they have freaking colored bikes. I'm just like, and freaking, I'm a huge Power Ranger fan, so like it did bother me from the get go, and just like the hate from it. I was just like, Max's community coins themselves on being the anti-fandom menace. They're
just as bad.
If anything, the menace was more positive about it than they were. And it's like, yeah. So it was just like, and then at the end, like Echo Base was on Saggy's channel and they were doing a stream, and we were having a debate. And then Echo Base said that Old Republic wouldn't work in live action. And then I was just like, what the? I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Of course Old Republic would work in live action.
Hell, like if you paid attention to any of the cutscenes, those cutscenes from the Old Republic MMO were like fucking mini movies, dude.
Yes. Of course it would work. It would work better than their sacred original trilogy, in my opinion. All right, freaking Old Republic is amazing. It gives the foundation for everything. The big reason why I cut the stream earlier that I was trying to do was because that I understand people have personal stuff. I'm not even mad about that. All right, not at all. I respect that. All right, but I'm trying to give the backstory behind the Sith and why did the Sith and Jedi hate each other. And why are they in a rivalry and all these other things? And I'm trying to give context to that. And then I have somebody in the chat saying, well, never really got into Old Republic because it's not canon. And I'm just like, well, as of 2017, they made Revan canon. And so they made the surrounding story around him canon. And then they made Vitiate canon because the Revan thing. So Old Republic has been made canon. So it actually is technically if you want to go there. Because it gives a backstory. There's no reason why you can't use both. Dude, I remember even after the prequels, we didn't have this canon talk and all that crap. That didn't happen until later.
Yeah. Well, it's like, okay, I said this on a Poindexter Lounge the other night. Hold on, let me catch my train of thought again. Sorry, it's been a somewhat emotionally draining day.
All right,
Where's
I'll go
that
through
train of
somebody's
thought?
messages.
Huh?
Geek's getting low right there. Oh no, I ended it. I was kind of ticked off, and I didn't want to go off on anyone in the chat and the stream, so it's just like I'll scrap it, reschedule it, and we'll do a retake, and it'll be better.
Yeah. So okay. I found my train of thought again. Sorry. Getting old as hell, dude. Anyway, my biggest problem is the tribal. When it comes to the tribalism in the fandom, like somebody mentioned the Snyderverse stuff and everything else. There's a difference in Snyderverse fans and what we've started calling Snyder Bros. Okay, the Snyderverse stuff with the Snyder Bros has become almost a cult. Yeah. They so want the Snyderverse that they shit on everything else that DC puts out. Okay, and it's like, no, calm down, dude. Like, just because James Gunn makes this Peacemaker series, and it's good, I watched all of it. It's good, but just because you're not getting your Zack Snyder shit you want, and mind you, I'm a Snyder fan. Okay, And I wanted the Snyderverse to continue. I still want the Snyderverse to continue. But that doesn't mean I'm going to shit on whatever else they put out. I let everything else. I let everything stand on its own merit. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like the biggest aggravation I have. Like, for example, yesterday I was on a stream about XMen, comics, movies, everything. It was just like an XMen stream.
I'm back. Sorry. I had a
And I mentioned,
It's all good.
on the stream, I was starting to, the host had asked me a question and I was trying to answer it. And there was somebody on the panel that instead of letting me finish what I was explaining,
sorry.
comes on and goes, the person's like, they retconned that. They retconned, and they didn't let me finish. I was going to explain that it had gotten retconned, but they didn't let me get to that. Okay. And I hate when people do that. That's why I said, calm down earlier, Andrew. Let me get something out before you just jump to what I'm saying. Okay.
Sorry. Jeez.
Because you'll usually, it may take me a minute to get there because I'm an old guy, but you'll hear, you'll see the point eventually. Okay. And if you just let me finish, normally I'll bring up what you're going to say to me. I'm pretty intuitive that way. But this person just kept jumping me. Oh, that was retcon. That's not really, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no, shut that. Like, don't dogpile me when I'm on a panel, because I'll either do one of two things. I'll either snap at you, which is not cool because I don't like snapping at people, or I'll just get quiet, and then the host will be wondering, well, why is he quiet? And I've been asked several times where I just stop talking, and I'll say in private chat, I'll be like, yeah, well, I feel like I can't talk here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, because this person started jumping me, and then another person on the panel was dogpiling me with that other person, and I just could not get my point out. And then we were asked what eras of X-Men comics or shows or whatever that we liked, and I mentioned that I read X-Men comics from the late 70s into the late 90s, and then I stopped reading for a little bit, and then I picked up with Jonathan Hickman's run, which was started back in 2019, and that the most recent X-Men stuff over the last 3 years has been really good. Well, the person on the panel was like, no, anything after like a certain point is it's bullshit, and I don't like the retcons, and I don't like this, and I don't like that. Well, that's great. You can go ahead and sit over there and be unhappy with it. You don't have to like it if you don't want to, but don't shit on me for liking it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was a point we made last night on the show on Point Extra Lounge. If you don't watch something,
That's fine.
and you're not going to give it a chance, then don't sit here and dogpile it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And don't tell somebody else they're stupid for liking something.
Yeah, exactly. And
because you're not.
I hate
that's
that.
why I stopped going to the communities, because I got dogpiled all the time. That's why there are two that I show up on a regular basis and I support, because they haven't done that. And that's you guys over the New Crew when you were doing the New Crew streams, and then Halogen Phoenix, Paul, RJ, and Jess do a stream once a week, or the one that I go to once a week, and they're super cool and stuff like that. And I don't get dogpiled over there. But like a lot of those communities, I would get dogpiled. So I'm just like, I'm done. I'm sick and tired of getting pissed off, having some debate, and people calling me trash because what I like is trash according to them.
Yeah, didn't you tell me you got trash for liking Tom Hardy's Venom?
Yep, that was one of them. That it's way more than that, Andrew, but that was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate like when you have your own opinion. Like, not a lot of people like my opinions, and that's fine. Like,
yeah, I get trash for liking Sam Raimi Spider-Man from those MCU fans.
That's fine. But like, don't. The one thing that I hate is like, if you have your own opinion, like, you shouldn't like. If you like, say for example, if you like the new DC slate, and you're excited for all those movies.
I'm excited for Batman, Black Adam.
They call you like trash. They call you trash, or they they dogpilling you, saying you can't feel this way, and like I hate that. Like if you like something, it's your opinion. It's how you feel. You shouldn't tell
The
other.
only
You shouldn't.
the only
Sorry.
the only reason I will question somebody's opinion is if they haven't watched whatever it is before they make a decision on it. Okay. And the only thing I say that is I'm not really questioning your opinion. I'm just telling you, well, maybe you want, maybe it'd be best if you do watch it just so you can make a more educated opinion on it. You know,
Yeah.
I tend to let things stand on their own merit.
Yeah, I just think it's wrong for people to
But-
call people trash if they're excited for projects that they haven't seen, and like.
And it is. And it is. And if you'll let me finish, I was going to get to that.
Yeah.
If you, like, for example, the Snyder Bros that don't want to watch Peacemaker because they say that a certain scene at the end of Peacemaker shit on Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Where it didn't.
It didn't, but they're of the opinion that James Gunn is shitting all over, Zack Snyder, and he's not, because behind the scenes, Zack Snyder and James Gunn are good friends, by the way.
Yeah, and I think he's. James Gunn's also friends with David Ayer also.
Oh, they're all friends.
Yeah,
they're all friends. But that's the thing, though. Like, there was a person in the chat last night on the Poindexter Lounge, and I'm not going to say any names because I know Andrew was there last night, and you probably know who I was talking about. And I'm not here to call anybody out. I'm just here to talk about situations.
Okay.
I hate calling people out unless there's a really good reason to call them out. Okay.
Yep.
But the person was just shitting all over Peacemaker. He was calling it Pissmaker and all this other shit. And we were just trying to have we were nerding out about the cameos in Peacemaker and how we thought it was cool, blah 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 blah. Well, this guy just started getting heated, threatening to attack people.
Oh,
well, just because you say it's good doesn't mean I have to watch it, blah 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 blah. So we said to him, look, we finally looked at it. We finally said, well, fine then stop shitting on it because you won't bother to watch it anyway. So you have no reason to shit on something. And then he was getting mad about that. Well, I can have my opinion about anything I fucking want to, whether I've watched it or not. And I was like, no, because that's unfair. If I don't intend on watching something, I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to sit there and tell you, like, say, for example, if I wasn't intending on watching the Batman, which I am, by the way, because I think it's going to be fucking amazing. But anyway, but if I wasn't intending on watching the Batman, I wouldn't sit here and look at Arkham and go, if he was talking about it, I wouldn't look at Arkham and I wouldn't go, oh, well, that's just going to be shit. And because I don't want to watch it means you shouldn't either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel like people should respect everyone's other opinion. Like, I'm a big Batman fan. I like the comic books. Like, I know a lot of people like Ben's Batman, but he's just not my favorite. Like, and like I get attacked for saying that, and I hate that.
The only opinions I dislike and I will call out are the ones that won't bother watching something. And that comes from the fact that I get so aggravated when people don't think for themselves. Okay?
Oh, I hate that.
And I have a personal story that will exemplify that, okay? When I first got into YouTube, I was a fandom menacer. I was angry with what Disney was doing with Star Wars. I was very toxic because I wasn't taking my own advice. And so when they started saying, before Solo even came out, when they started saying Solo was going to suck, I was like, well, you know what? The hell with this. I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to give it a chance. And I was shitting all over that movie.
Wait, which movie?
And about 6 or so weeks ago, I was sitting here and didn't have much to do, and I was going through streaming services, and I found Solo. And since it's the only Star Wars property that I hadn't watched, I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to sit here and watch it. Well, I realized that I had done myself a disservice by not watching it years ago when it came out. It's not a bad movie. It's actually a pretty good movie. But I allowed somebody else's opinion of something to influence me, and you should never do that. Don't ever let somebody tell you your opinion is trash.
I hate that.
Don't ever let somebody tell you what you should or shouldn't like. That's on you. That has nothing to do with somebody else.
Yeah, don't tell someone how to feel. Like, this is their opinions, and this is how they're like.
Like I said, the only time I attack a person's opinion about something is when they haven't actually given the product a chance.
Yeah,
you know,
they haven't watched it.
Right, and that's the only way I'll say something. Then I'll be like, "No, man, you can't give an opinion on something you know nothing about." Just because somebody else, some YouTuber told you that you should hate it, so you're gonna not give it a chance. You know, why don't you go check it out for yourself instead of letting Big Papa YouTuber tell you that it sucks? And that's my big problem with a lot of these scooper channels and everything else. And that was my problem with the Geeks and Gamers crowd. They just automatically hate something, and then their subs and their watchers sit there and just like jump your ass if you like something, and they're worse than the YouTuber. You know what I'm saying? Like look, just let it stand on its own. You know, just let it be what it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you go and you watch it and you decide you don't like it, okay, well then that's fine. You can say you didn't like it, but don't get upset and pissy with somebody else because they like it and you don't. Don't try to influence somebody else with that shit. It's just, that's irresponsible and petty. Like, I know, Andrew, you love Tobey Maguire. You like that Spider-Man. By all means, love that Spider-Man. You do you, man. Arkham, I know you love the Arkham games, and I know you have your opinions on Batman.
Yeah.
By all means, have your opinions on Batman, man. Do you? You know, it's not for me to sit here and tell you you're wrong. And we need to remember, as nerd fans, as geek culture fans, we need to remember that if there's something you don't like and the fandom isn't making you happy, maybe you should step away from it for a little bit. Like, for example, I don't like new Star Trek. So I stepped away from Star Trek. I put it on the shelf, and I don't want to play with that toy right now. I'm going to leave it on the shelf, and I'm going to walk away. But, you know, Strange New Worlds is coming out, and it looks interesting, so I may decide to go and pick up that toy again and play with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't let what somebody else says influence you unless it's a positive influence. If it's negative bullshit you're hearing, miss me with that shit.
Yeah, that's why I stepped away from the communities, because just not into it. You know, when I was involved, we were all positive, and then now it's just like the geeks comment, friggin'. To me, they're both the same now. You know, these communities pride themselves on being the anti-geeks and gamers and being completely different, but like lately they've been more negative than that group. So it seems like they're becoming worse than those groups are that they say that they're against. And that's not why I went to these streams and subbed and became a member of some of these channels. It wasn't for that. I thought they were going to make they're going to be a positive influence, not a negative one. Now I'm seeing a negative trend, not with all of them, but with a lot of them. don't want to be in that negativity. It's toxic and it does nothing but brings people down. We should be trying to lift each other up.
Yeah, be positive, not negative.
Yeah.
Exactly. Look, there's too much shitty stuff going on in real life right now, man. Like we're almost in another war with a country we have no business being at war with.
I rather no. What?
There's a lot of bad things going on in the world right now for us to get mad about fandom. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that should be our escape. That should be the thing we go to get our minds off of the real world. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't. A lot of us can't even escape to our fandoms because there's people in your fandom telling you you're a dumbass for liking something.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, I come here to escape, not to have more depressing conversations.
Exactly.
And I shouldn't have to be sitting here saying this. I shouldn't have to be campaigning for this. I shouldn't have to tell another geek fan, hey, man, don't be that way. Be nice.
Yeah.
And it's like Stella and I talked after Poindexter Lounge stream last night. We talked in the backstage. And she said, you know, why can't people just be nice?
I'm always nice.
I'm not talking about like individual people in general. I'm just talking like as a whole. Like
People in
there
general.
are
It's
so many.
because it's pride. Because they think they're right and everybody else is wrong, and they don't give a shit about respecting people's opinion. That's what I've seen. And they told me in chat straight up, why do I have to respect other people's opinion? Why don't they respect mine?
Hmm.
And then these same people get put up on pedestals, despite the fact that they're kind of jerks. Yeah.
And that's a shitty hot take. That really is. You know, it's like, okay, well, if you're not going to respect my opinion, well, then you haven't earned my respect at all.
Yeah.
Look, I will never attack somebody for something they love. Never. Because that's shitty to do to a person. If somebody's excited about something and you automatically attack it, that attacks their excitement. And doing that, you're a piece of shit human being for doing that.
Yeah.
If you and like I say it for like with I raised my kids, you know, and I never, you know, even if there was something my kids were excited about, even if it was something I wasn't into, or it completely made me roll my eyes, and there was a lot of stuff that they were into that made me roll my eyes. Okay, I would always act excited right along with them, even if I didn't like it, because that's an especially shitty thing to do to a person. If they're excited about something and it makes them happy and you go and you shit on that happiness, fuck you. You're a piece of shit.
Yep. That's like
You have no right.
So I'll give you an example. So I took my wife and kids to see Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, and we had a great time. And I'm a huge Tom Hardy Venom fan. I think his is way better than Topher Grace, and I think he's
yes, leagues and bounds above.
I love Tom Hardy Venom. Not so much Tom Hardy Bane, but Tom Hardy Venom I really like. But I love the way he portrays Venom. I love the movies. I think it's cool. I actually like the comedy element in the movies, and so I'm a big fan of that. And so I get on a stream right after we saw the movie. I'm like, we had a good time. This is the first time that my kids have actually been to a movie theater. So it was their first movie in a movie theater was Venom 2. And I thought, like, my first movie was Lion King. Freaking animated version. So yeah. So I thought that was really cool. We had a blast. We had a great time. They actually sat through the whole movie. It was fun. So a couple of days go by, I go on to Enosh just to talk about it. And then there are a couple people that just completely shitted on me for it. And just killed it. Now, one of those people has DM'd me and apologized, but it's still like, that was a great moment. And that entire moment, not entirely, but partially got ruined because they wanted to trash on me because they don't like Tom Hardy Venom and I do. And I didn't ask for their opinion. I said, yeah, we saw the movie. It's great. Oh, the movie's trash. You don't know what a good superhero movie is. And it's just like,
I had that.
It just happened to me.
I had that happen to me recently too. I was with my friend Raquel. Um, I was over. We were just doing kind of just a hangout on her channel, uh, and there were a couple of guys that I liked for the most part. And it was just after Spider-Man No Way Home, and I was geeking out with Raquel about Spider-Man No Way Home because we both liked it.
Yeah.
And I won't say his name because again, I don't call people out. But this guy that I had thought we were friends goes, God, another MCU movie. Oh man, those movies are such shit. Blah 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 blah. You don't understand. You don't understand movies. Let's talk about a real movie. And you don't know cinema. Okay, dude, I have been. Well, he said you don't know cinema. You don't know movies. Let's talk about some good movies. And I said, first of all, don't fucking tell me that I don't know movies. I don't just watch superhero movies, dude. I have been a film student. I have been around the industry. I have been around Hollywood. I have been around these things, okay? Don't sit here and tell me I don't know fucking movies. Okay? But he just started running his mouth at me, and I left the stream. I told Raquel, I've got to go. I've got stuff I've got to go handle or whatever. And now I refuse to go on a stream with that guy anymore. Because I can't talk about something that I was happy with without people telling me I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Just because I like a superhero movie doesn't mean I don't also enjoy stuff like The Godfather and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I understand there's a lot of old-time directors that don't think that the MCU and Star Wars and all that is good cinema and all that. Well, you know what? You make great movies. Shut the fuck up and make your movies and don't give me your opinion. I don't care about your opinion. Make the movies and shut the fuck up. Don't sit here and tell me that I shouldn't watch your movies if I like these kind of movies. Man, shut the fuck up. Make your movies and take my money. That's all I care about.
Yeah, I agree.
The hypocrisy, especially in the movie industry, the hypocrisy in geek fandom, it pisses me off. And I'm tired of it. I'm finally tired of it. And that's why I'm trying to do this whole campaign that I've been doing. Don't shit on people's fandom. Because look, there's very few things in the real world that make people happy anymore. Okay. And these things are stuff we're supposed to be going to get away from the shitty bullshit lives we live. And now you can't even discuss that with your fellow nerds because half of your fellow nerds are assholes.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The story that I told you guys about Venom 2, that was on Enosh's stream.
Really?
The one where everyone's fandom's supposed to matter. That's the one I got freaking dogpiled on. So it's like, and Enosh is one of the most positive dudes out there. So if it can happen on Enosh's stream, it could happen anywhere.
Yeah, we're trying to curtail that now. Enosh is trying to get better about, making sure that doesn't happen.
Enosh
because he.
You said?
I just said Enosh is cool. Like he's very.
Oh yeah. He's
cool.
Enosh is we're personal friends, but like, it still happened. And at the time, freaking nobody stood up for me about it. Like
it's happened on the.
And he wasn't the only person I'm talking about. Wasn't the only one. He's got buddies, and freaking, they started siding with him. So yeah, I got dogpiled. And
yeah,
like I said, a little bit. I DM'd Enosh about it. He said, "Come on back. We won't do that again." And I think Enosh said something to him about it because he ended up apologizing to me. But yeah. And so I try to let it go, but it was like, I remember going to the movie theater with my family and it being such a special moment because it was our first ever time as a family watching a movie in a movie theater.
Well,
those first moments are so huge. So it's like, I do let it go and I try to move forward, but sometimes it can be kind of hard.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, I'm probably gonna end it. Not that I want to. I love talking to you guys, but I'm getting really hungry. So,
Okay.
Okay.
oh,
Peace.
Well,
oh, you got somebody now that you got people hating on the new Lord of the Rings because it has black actors. I didn't know that. I'm not
Yeah.
well, I'm
yeah.
a gamer guy. I'm not big on Lord of the Rings just because it just didn't hit with me. It didn't resonate with me.
Well,
I don't hate on it. It's just it's not my favorite freaking
Yeah,
property.
yeah. I watched Lord of the Rings. It's like it's pretty cool. It's just not for me. I like what was it? I forgot the TV show's name. Like but like
Game of
I like
Thrones.
what? Yeah, Game of Thrones. Thank you. Yeah, I like that a little better. Like
Yeah,
I don't hate on Lord of the Rings. It's just it's not for me. Like not everything's gonna be for me. Like I like specific stuff. Try other stuff, and if I don't like it, I don't like it.
like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I thought was okay. I'm not really into hobbits, and that's kind of like the center focus with a lot of it. Then the Hobbit movies, I didn't care for, but the trailer looks cool.
Yeah,
Uh, it looks cool, but it's
they're
just
they're,
yeah,
they're making a I think it's Lord of the Rings game. I think like with the um I think it's the Gollum and stuff like that.
yeah. Oh, that's cool. But yeah, but we'll be back tomorrow at noon. We're gonna do a watch party for the WWE pay per view. Uh, I know some guys earlier was asking me about my predictions. We'll probably go on around 11:30, and I give my predictions to that. Hey, Trippy, we're gonna end it, but we'll be back at noon Eastern time tomorrow. So, and we'll do a full watch party, and then after that, we're gonna do the Star Wars series with me and Thade co-hosting. We're gonna do the origins of the Sith Order. So, that's a new. This It's going to be a Star Wars Sith series, and we're going to start with the first episode is going to be the origins of the Sith Order, and then next week we got a 90. I'm doing 90s week on the channel, so we're going to do everything 90s. So if you guys like the 90s, we're gonna have some fun. Uh, so yeah, we got that. Guys, do you want to tell them where they can find you?
Well, right. Currently, you can find me over at Poindexter Lounge about 2 or 3 times a week. Enosh and the crew over there have been really accepting of me, and I appreciate it. You can also find me on over here with Josh talking about Star Wars stuff and other geekdom stuff. You can also find me on Jedi Bill 797. He does karaoke streams, so if that's your bag, come on see us on Wednesdays and Saturday nights. Tonight around 11 o'clock, I will be on Jason Lee Tucker Statement's Midnight Snack Show. We talk about all sorts of stuff there too, geekdom and other stuff. We talk about a little wrestling, a little geekdom. Beyond that, the channel that I'm normally on, we're on hiatus right now. Until we thanks, Nate. We're on hiatus right now while we restructure what we're doing. But give Bro Dan your support over at Bro Dan Bro the Skies. He has some hot takes on stuff, and a lot of it's a little radical, but he's a good dude, and he helped me out with YouTube, so give him a look. I also want to plug Jesse Miller over at the Crow's Nest. He's a good guy, and that crew over there has got some really cool takes on stuff. They're conservative, though, so, watch accordingly. He also does Black Death Gaming channel, which is watching him and some friends of his do gaming stuff. Got Raquel over at Raquel SSG. She's a real good friend of mine, personal real life friend as well as YouTube. Real good girl, real sweet. She likes talking about anime and everything else. So go ahead and give her a look. And beyond that, you'll find me anywhere geekdom is talked about, anywhere nerd stuff gets talked about. I'm usually there. I'm usually somewhere lurking about. And the final thing that I'll plug is near the end of this month, early March, I will be launching my own channel. It will be true crime and paranormal subjects. So we're gonna have a dark and spooky time over there. So if you're into that kind of thing, come see me. Beyond that, thanks for having me on, Josh.
Not a problem. Great to have both of you guys on. Arkham, where can they find you?
You can find me at Arkham Gaming at my YouTube channel. I'll be doing like DC comic books, TV shows, movies, and more. I might usually over at my friends' channels and stuff like that. So I'll be probably around the time, but I'll probably be showing up at Inash's channel and everything like that, and other kinds of YouTubers, DC related.
Cool. Ah, dang, Jedi, you came at the end.
I love
Jedi,
the
we're gonna
name.
do starting tomorrow afternoon, evening. We're gonna do a Sith Lord series. So it's gonna be Sith eras, different Sith Lords. It's gonna be cool, and I think you'll like it. Like we were talking about the Sith the other night, and then Thade wanted to come on, so we started coming up with some great ideas. And so I wanted to do a show, and so Thade and I are gonna do that every week. So that'll be real fun.
And I just want to say for Jedi Master Miyagi down there, Cobra Kai never dies. Cobra Kai, Cobra Kai, Cobra Kai. I really love that.
Yeah,
show.
his freaking username was Jedi Lego Cobra Kai No Mercy. And then me and Phil had a debate about one of the Geeks and Gamers people, Chris Nova, and then he changed his picture avatar and everything. He's like, I'm Team Josh now.
Yeah, just remember, Cobra Kai never dies.
Yeah,
I love that show. That is,
oh yeah,
and that
Cobra
right
Kai's
there,
awesome, dude.
that right there
great.
is an example of nostalgia and fan service that didn't go woke and stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't go woke and stupid. But yeah, thanks for checking us out, guys. I definitely appreciate the support. We just hit 95 subs. I can't thank you guys enough because I've been stuck at 89 subs for the past 3 weeks. So, that was awesome. Thank you guys. Yeah, I love all the input, which I don't get a lot of input, but you guys have, once they give me input, thank you. We'll go with some of those. Of course, I got my own ideas too, and I do a lot of that stuff. But I also value what you guys say and put it on an account. So we try to make it all work.
And everybody on the download, if you get us to 100 subs on this channel, me and Josh will spar on screen for you. No, just kidding.
Sure, why not?
You guys take it easy. Have a good night.
Yeah, have a great one, and we'll see you tomorrow.